Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to The Rule Rebel. My name is Hank Wallenborn, and today's story is on George Soros' financial meddling in the upcoming contentious voice referendum, sparking outrage and raising questions as to its effects on Australia's democracy and our government's true motivations. It's disheartening to hear that international billionaire George Soros is once again using his wealth to meddle in our country's affairs, this time funding the yes vote for the voice referendum, a decision that's been sparking intense debate and dividing the nation. But what does this mean for democracy in Australia? At its core, democracy is supposed to be a system governed by the will of its people. However, with international financial influences like Soros skewing the conversation, it's hard to argue that we still have a pure and unadulterated democratic process. But the question on everyone's mind now is, why will our government allow such an obvious manipulation of the system? Although they haven't explicitly condoned Soros' intervention, their apathy and inaction speaks volumes. But this isn't the first time that we've seen Soros' name involved with political tampering, not by far. His reputation is marred by multiple allegations of funding and manipulating global events according to his own personal agenda. In recent years, his interference has extended across continents, from affecting election outcomes in Europe to funding social movements in America. Not only does his involvement cast doubt over our democratic process, but it also highlights further concerns surrounding Australia's ongoing struggles with wealth inequality and foreign influence. With countries around the world falling prey to financial poisons like Soros, our once coveted democracy appears to be corroding before our very eyes. Moreover, with all of Australia feeling the pinch during these uncertain times, it is both frustrating and infuriating to see our national conversation dominated by a referendum that we can't afford. The financial strain resulting from such a polarising vote adds fuel to an already glowing fire, and many hardworking Australians are left questioning why their voices aren't being prioritised. If our government refuses to protect our democratic values, then it falls on us, the Australian people, to take action. We must demand transparency and accountability as our fundamental rights in this democracy, as we face the crossroads that is the voice referendum. We will not only shape our future, but define exactly what it means to be a democracy in Australia. Together, let's take a stand against foreign interference and show George Soros that his filthy lucre has no place meddling in the affairs of our proud nation. The time is now for Australia to rediscover its voice, untainted and unadulterated by insidious outside forces. Here's the report now. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you back here really soon.
My question is to the Minister representing the Minister for Communications, Senator Watt. Minister, why is the ABC receiving funds from potential agents of foreign influence for its fact-checking partnership with RMIT?
I'm not actually aware of the suggestions that Senator Roberts is making, and I'm a little wary about taking it at face value, because I know Senator Roberts has a certain view of the ABC. It's not a view that I share. And Senator Roberts, I'm not sure, has always accurately represented the situation when it comes to the ABC. As I say, I'm very wary of entering into propositions that are being put by Senator Roberts when it comes to foreign interference and foreign influence. He is prone to saying various things about those issues which don't always bear fact-checking themselves.
The government's Combating Misinformation and Disinformation Bill does not define those terms in specifics. It would likely be left to biased and foreign influence fact-checkers. Facebook has suspended RMIT Fact Lab services after accusations of bias in fact-checking the voice referendum and reports of lapsed accreditation. Minister, will the government abandon its Orwellian misinformation and disinformation bill, given that the fact-checkers' credibility has been destroyed?
Minister Watt.
Now, there's only 40 days until Australians go to the polls to vote for the voice or vote against the voice. The polls suggest the no camp is well ahead, but it's the yes side that has all the cash, a massive war chest to play with. How do you see the next month playing out?
Well, I think obviously based on today's news poll, the first time news poll has had the no case with a majority. and a further fall in yes support. But of course, polls are not predictive. They don't tell you what's going to happen in 4 weeks, 5 weeks' time. They tell you what things may have looked like on the last weekend. So, yes, it looks grim for the Yes campaign. I've spoken to people who are supporters of the Yes campaign, and they fear that they are headed for defeat and possibly a heavy defeat. But as you say, the Yes campaign has a huge amount of money to spend. They are throwing money into this, more than $100 million. They are trying to grab celebrities and, of course, Johnny Farnham. But I think one thing that needs to be looked at here is that the Yes campaign has to actually convince people who are now voting or committed to voting no. I notice that, the Yes campaign continues to say 40% of people are undecided, and that gives them a very good chance of being able to pull off a slightly more narrow victory. But the news poll has people under double digits, 9% as being undecided. That means people then have to be convinced to change from no to yes, not just undecided, but no to yes. That is a big ask, and I think that you'd have to say that the Yes campaign is in big trouble. It's got big money to get out of that trouble, but it is starting very much from behind.
The Yes campaign for the Voice keeps treating Australians as fools, and now it's exploding in the Prime Minister's face. You look at the news poll today. Support for the Voice down to a new low, opposition up to 53%, and Australians now more divided than ever. But never mind, said one of the architects of the Voice, Thomas Mayo.
Well, Indigenous people have invited Australians to recognise us through a voice so that we can get better outcomes in our communities.
Us, Indigenous people. Mayo's actually descended from immigrants from the Philippines, Borneo and Germany, but identifies himself instead as Indigenous through other Indigenous descendants or ancestors. Is a walking example of how stupid it is to be dividing ourselves like this. I mean, you're Aboriginal, you're not, you get your voice, so you don't. But that's not the only insult to our intelligence here. You take two of the authors of the Uluru Statement from the Heart that inspired this demand for the Voice, Professor Megan Davis, on the left there, with Pat Anderson, and Noel Pearson as well, posing with this statement. Now, how can any of us believe a word they say about the Voice? That's because 5 years ago, Megan Davis gave a long speech saying actually the Uluru Statement that the Prime Minister's promised to implement in full wasn't just the one page we were told.
So the Uluru Statement, many people don't know, is 18 pages long. It's not just the one-page invitation to the Australian people, it also includes what we call our story. So those 18 pages include our story, so our history of our people, and also a few pages about on the reform. Why do we want a voice? What will a voice do?
But then this year, when voters were saying, wait a minute, what is in those other pages? Reparations? Davis reversed. She said, oh, that's false nonsense, it's fake news. The Uluru Statement was just one page. But now Davis and co-author Pat Anderson have a book come out saying, wait a minute, they were kind of right the first time. The Uluru Statement is 15 pages long. They said 18 before, who cares? And includes the one-page pitch to the Australian people that you know, plus our story of First Nations history, plus the explanation of the legal reform. Yet again, straight away today, after this hit the papers, they flip on the flop of the flip and said, well, it's the Uluru Statement again. It's just one page, 439 words, and the rest is that's just supporting documents. Now, honestly, yes, no, I can't take anything Megan Davis says seriously. Can you? But the biggest joke on you is this. A couple of months ago, the Yes campaign realised things were going south because they all looked so arrogant, out of touch, getting celebrities and sporting codes and business tycoons telling you to vote yes, as if them saying yes, that's enough. That's all you need. You don't need details like how this voice will actually work. And the Yes campaign said, but look, now we've learned our lesson. We're not going to use any more preachy celebrities, you know, like Kate Blanchett. Back to the grassroots. You know how it is? They cannot help themselves. They've now gone and signed up John Farnham to lend his voice to this new ad for the Voice campaign, the Yes campaign.
And last night we saw a true Australian hero, John Farnham, lend his voice and his iconic song to the Yes campaign. An inspirational ad.
I mean, seriously, John Farnham singing, Cathy Freeman running, and that's suddenly an argument for voting yes? I mean, that? A tune and a woman running fast is all you need, you know, to convince you to vote yes for a radical change to our constitution, divide us by race forever. I mean, it's really ironic, you know, and how accidentally true this line from that very Farnham hit. The opposition leader was right onto that.
It's the appropriate theme song for the Yes campaign because remember the key line in the lyrics there is, you know, you're the voice, try and understand it. And I don't want to sing it. I don't want to break into verse with you here, Andrew. But I honestly don't think I don't think most Australians understand it.